Hi, I'm Brett from Run Queensland, and you're here on Sunday Runday. And today, my special guest is Jody Fischer, local ultra runner. Jody Fischer, actually. G'day, mate.
How are you, Brett?
Yeah, really good. I noticed you've got
That's
our
good.
first ever Black All 100 shirt on there.
Yeah, bit of nostalgia there.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
So you're coming up for the 500 club this year. All things going well. So
Yes. Let's not jinx it yet.
Well, who knows what happens? As you know, a lot can happen on the day. Hey, mate, so you've been a Sunny Coast local now for a couple of years. Do you want to talk a little bit about your background in running, ultra running, when it first started? I know you've done the Tarawera 102. You've done a few Glasshouse 100s. And obviously you've done 4 Blackall 100K. So, yeah, give us a bit of that background.
Yeah, so pretty much my sort of journey started in 2014, running ultras. Pretty much another good friend that you know, Andrew Dower, he had ran Glasshouse 100 in like 2013 and was telling me all about it. And I was like, oh man, that sounds really cool. I want to do that as well. And anyway, so then he linked me up with his mate, which was Matty Grills. So I actually got in contact with Matt, and then he actually took me on and coached me for my first 50K, which was Flinders 50 in 2014. So that went really well. I did pretty well. I ran that in like 5 hours, 17 minutes.
Wow.
So I was pretty stoked with that for my first 50K. And then after that, I was going to do Glasshouse 100, but work got in the way. So we said, let's go for Blackall 100 because that was its first year. So yeah, we put together a 12-week training plan, and away I went and stuck to the plan, and ended up finishing that, which was my first 100 in 13 hours 51. So yeah, I was pretty stoked with that.
That's silver buff, mate.
I don't know if you had buffs back then.
I don't think we did. Actually. It's changed a lot, mate.
Yeah, so but it was quite surprising because when you look at the stats in 2014, you know, there was only 59 finishers in the 100, and there was 20 DNFs.
Yeah.
So I got like 10th male, but you know, the 100's grown, you know, 400%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to get in it. I mean, in that first one, I remember that it was a big learning curve for us at Run Queensland, and it was hot that day. I remember, I think I seen you and Matt Grills running early on at Condalula Falls, actually. I think it was that year. And it started off quite cool, but geez, it warmed up, which is
I know.
Interesting.
I think, I don't know, because I don't know about the years I've missed out, because originally I wanted to run every year, but you know, injury and stuff, I've missed out a couple of years. But I think the first year was really hot, and I think there was a bit of carnage at checkpoint 4 that year.
Yeah.
A lot of drops, and last year also was pretty warm as well. So I think there's a fair bit of carnage there as well.
Mate, one of the things I was really keen to talk about, and I thought we might go through this. I was on the Blackall discussion page, and there was a little quote, and I'm not exactly sure who wrote this to start with, but I know it could be Simon's. I haven't found out yet, but it basically said 100K runners leave the comfort of CP4 for the first time and cross the threshold for an often lonely trip to CP5. For some of you, the sun will be setting. You're now 60 plus kilometres in. For many, you're entering uncharted ultra running territory. For me, this exact point is where the Blackall 100 begins. And then you wrote this big response to that, and I just was really blown away by it. I thought it's so well written. But I want to just say to everyone there too, I think that what I just read there, that can translate to the 50K and it can translate to the 21K. Because if you get all those paces wrong, and you don't get everything, well, relatively right, because things go wrong and you can't work through them, geez, it's a long day. But so I thought, let's get your perspective on what you wrote, because I think, you know, with your experience there and some of this stuff. So then you wrote, this is a really important post by Run Queensland and Blackwell 100. It is so very true, and also how it's very helpful in training in such conditions in preparation for the race.
Yeah.
There's a few weeks left to get some specific training in, and please don't let it go to waste. And I thought right there and then, that's amazing. So I think specificity, if I've got that right, I hate that word.
I can't even say it, mate.
I'm specifically
Specificity.
I'm getting it wrong. Who cares? We know what I mean. I think it's really important, because at that point, it slows down, and you know, you should be starting to taper. So that is when the time you can do that. And I thought it was really fantastic. So the first point you bring up is training on the terrain that the race is on. For the Blackwell, that is downhill trails, uphill trails, switchbacks, technical trail, longer undulating fire roads, single trail, some stairs, and a bit of road with one of those.
Yeah.
Expand on that a bit.
So pretty much in relation to the course, and you know, obviously pretty much the first section up to Condalilla Falls is all road or the pathway.
Yeah.
So you know, that's a good part. A lot of people will just train on the road, so that'll be fairly easy. And then, you know, we go down the stairs into Condalilla Falls. You know, we hit some, you know, fairly narrow, sort of bit technical single track going down into the bottom, and also coming back up. And then, you know, obviously there's the stairs already coming out of Condalilla. And, you know, like, I don't know, if you haven't done any sort of stair work, there's not many stairs there, but even still for myself, like, I get a bit gassed out going on those stairs after doing that drop into the bottom.
I think there's a couple hundred, mate. I've counted them. I don't know if it's changed a bit, like the track's changed, but I mean, they're obviously along a stretch of distance. They're not straight one after another, but yeah, it's about a couple hundred.
Yeah. So, you know, like, but, you know, like, I think stairs also intertwine with going uphill with some elevation and stuff, because you're doing the same practice. You're climbing stairs or you're climbing up, I don't know, the bluff or a hill. It is all retrospective, really. So, I mean, I go to Mount Coolum quite often and do repeats of Mount Coolum, and I think that really helps with, you know, your climbing ability and that leg strength going up. Yeah, so also, you know, we've got the downhill trails, as we know, going down into Condalilla, going down the Baby Bluff.
Uber G. So we're talking about Uber G, aren't we? From the
that's
day
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's 2 kilometres, mate. It's 1.8 if we want to be exact. There's also Baxter Creek, mate, early on too.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, that's a long switchback downhill.
Yeah, and it's fast.
Yeah, it is.
And it'll smash your quads if you haven't done any of that sort of specific training as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think, you know, like from, you know, pretty much like from, you know, say Condalilla to, you know, checkpoint 4, you've got a lot of like uphill and downhill single trail and technical trail, you know, whereas from checkpoint 4, it's predominantly, you know, let's say fire road pretty much all the way, except for the little bit of single trail you get when you come back into checkpoint 4 before you head home to the finish. So I think if you're not used to that, running on that sort of terrain, it does make it a harder day, because, you know, your body has to adjust to the road, single trail, fire road, up and down. You know, the switchbacks are also, you know, different, because you will run fast to the corner and then you got to turn around and
Yeah.
launch again the opposite way. So
Yeah.
it has a bit of a toll on the body. So I think being specific in your training is key to having, you know, a little bit of an easier day out there. And
it certainly is, mate. Like, I mean, if your fitness isn't there, I think that's the best thing you can do now. But it really is. I mean, you know, like you said, Coolum. I mean, my little mountain to train on is Mount Gun Gun around the corner here. And I mean, you could just do nice hiking sets because you're going to do that during this event, unless you're a lead runner. So I spend like more time just, instead of going and just doing a long sort of slow thing, it's to work on those kind of things, especially coming into the event, because I think the aerobic part should be done, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I reckon that's really fantastic. What about this one? I like this one. Using your plant nutrition strategy in training and also according to distances between checkpoints. I love that.
Yes.
I would, if I went to the TAB and put a bet on, I'm betting that people hydrate. They didn't seem to hydrate too much because we had a lot of water at checkpoint 3. So they were definitely running out at the top because there was a lot of people struggling at the top of the climb, because that climb's a long way now, about, I guess, 8 kilometres now to the water station up on Delisha Road. And I mean, that little bit extra is a pinch, but if you've really got it wrong, and I think that a lot of people were shoveling too much food down their guts because you've got to spew it. You've got no other option once you've got a gut full of food. So I think that's great. Do you want to talk a little bit about your nutrition and what it looks like?
Yeah, I think in regards to that, like, you know, like Cecilia said last Sunday, that, you know, take it very easy from the beginning through Condalilla all the way down to checkpoint 3 on Sam Kelly Road. Just have an easy day out. Don't push it. And like you said, unless you're a lead runner or you can hold that pace for that amount of time, if you go too hard to begin with, I'm not saying you will, but you got a good chance of coming unstuck, especially going up the bluff. Yeah. And also, you know, like, I think the checkpoint 3 at Sam Kelly Road there, that is a crucial checkpoint to, one, make sure you fill your bladder up full to the top. Right? If you've got crew, have some ice and put that in your bladder as well, so your water's cold. Yeah. Because you can always use your hose from your bladder to put some cold water on your hat, or, you know, put it in your hand and put it on your neck to cool you down on the climb. Yeah. And also make sure your 2 soft flasks or whatever are also full. Yeah. Like, because if you think it's a bit too much weight, like, I don't know, it'll be 3 kilos of weight I'm carrying, you know, like, you'll drink half of that on the way up. Yeah. Because it is hot. It is hot going up there. And if it's a hot day, by the time you get to the water station there, which is, what's that on, Delisha Road?
Oh, we're at nearly 50 kilometres. You're nearly halfway through your 100K when you get to that. It's pretty close to 50. You might as well say 50.
Yeah. So, so as far as mine, like, I just, like, I use like liquid nutrition for my races primarily. I've just started using lately spring energy gels. Yeah. But yeah, I do make sure that I have a full bladder of icy water for that bluff climb, and also 2 soft flasks full of trail brew going up. Yeah. And, you know, pack a Cliff Bar or gels or whatever in your pack for that climb up. But as you said before, like, I think a lot of people have a false sense of security. Like, they think they're either hungry or thirsty, or if they eat, they're going to get all this energy, but sometimes it's not that at all. Like, they're just eating for the sake of eating because they think it'll help them. But
there's a lot that's going on there. I think, you know, your body's trying to keep itself cool. So, I mean, you know, our sweat, blood, and all that sort of stuff's going on. You know, you're not really moving that fast up that hill. I mean,
No.
you know, I think the best of hikers might do it 6K, 7K an hour if you were really pushing it. Yeah, but it's so early, really, in the scheme of what we've been talking about. So early, really, 50K halfway there. I
The
mean,
race, it
it
is.
becomes a death race. It becomes death march. I mean, I know I've overeaten in races, and it's just like you can just feel that you have to slow down you've got to slow down to either digest it or you're going to throw it
Yeah,
up, and then you feel really unwell. So
that's
I'm
right.
not saying don't eat, but I think again it goes into exactly what you've written. Use the food that you train with. If you're doing like a 40K run and you can get through it with, you know, this small amount of stuff, why would you punch loads more of it in on the day?
Yes,
Just,
exactly.
I think people kind of lose their mind a little bit with what they think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Sizzler.
No. And it's about having confidence in your training and what you've put in place.
Yeah.
And, you know, like if anyone's using drop bags for the day, like I always say, don't put anything more in there than you need.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to take it and you're going to eat it or you're going to drink it. Just put what you need in that you know that you can have for that next section.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said another great point too, or you triggered one in me. I think the event should be a reflection of the training you've done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And if you get your training right, generally the event, I mean, it doesn't always happen. I mean, nothing's 100%, but usually if the training's reasonably well and you train to the pace and eating and all that, usually goes okay. So
yeah. And you know, it's I think use that, you know, like now we've got, like for myself, like I've got, say, after this week, another 2 more weeks of training until we taper off. So that'll be like the start of October.
Yeah.
Which will a 2-week taper starts. In that 2 weeks, when your training is backed off, it's actually time to write yourself a plan for the day.
Yeah.
And actually, it's like studying. Like have a plan and say, this is what I'm going to do from the start back to QCCC, and stick to it. Don't change it.
Yeah.
And then from there, say, this is what I'm going to do from QCCC to Sam Kelly Road. And also don't forget that, you know, like you've got 2K for your first section before you basically get back to QCCC. So it's still doing a half marathon.
Oh, it's, you know, and it's usually starting to heat up, and you've done two fairly good climbs, I would say, and no one ever talks about them. I never hear anyone say, "Oh, Baxter Creek was," you know. I mean, that goes for a couple of Ks.
Baxter Creek coming up is gnarly.
Yeah, but it's beautiful though. I suppose you forget about that because later on is when it really kicks in. But what about this one? I like this one. Practicing using mock CPs during your long runs. I've done that. You know, set eskies up and stuff like that. And I reckon that's really cool because if you get the right loop, you can really set that up. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, it's sort of funny because I sort of, when I was doing training for Last One Standing, so we would do a 6.7K loop. So I was set up at home in my garage, and then I had a 6.7K loop from my house, so I'd do it. Yeah. And I actually simulated the exact same thing. Like I would come back, I had one bottle, I'd make sure I'd have one bottle of electrolytes or whatnot, because it was for an hour. Yeah. I'd make sure I'd have half a Cliff Bar or a full Cliff Bar, and then I'd go out and do a loop again. Yeah. And then I'd basically do the same thing again. Yeah. And, you know, as far as, training there, even if you went from checkpoint 4, if you went up there for a run specific day or something, you know, you can go from checkpoint 4 and do that, you know, I don't know what it is, a 9K loop down and around and back up to checkpoint 4, and just have a cooler bag in your car, change over bottles, have something to eat, go do another loop again. Yeah. And just get yourself used to that motion of it. but also like even a long run, like if you're going to go do a 40K long run, you know, you don't have to carry all your stuff for 40K. You know, find somewhere where maybe you can set a bag up at 20K, and then you can go back to that point after you finished your run and pick up your bag, but run to that point, swap over your bottles, get a gel or whatever you need, a new hat, and then go do your other 20K, and then just later on just go back to that point.
Yeah.
Because it just really helps on the day. But or another good thing I like to do, and I've done this year, like I just did it last weekend, Wild Earth Coastal High 50. It's always good to do maybe a smaller race or two before the big event. So you can actually put that into practice in that long training run.
Yeah.
You can get your nutrition sorted, your drinks sorted at checkpoints, because at Wild Earth, like, you can't have any crew for 50K.
Yeah.
So you have to rely on whatever you're carrying and whatever the checkpoints have got. So it's really good, I think, in the future for maybe next year, people doing it. Try and do a couple of small.
Well, Coastal Eye works perfectly for it. It's about 6 weeks out. It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing, mate. It's a brilliant.
As long as the mere mortals don't go and like hammer it too much, because you don't want to have like a huge recovery after a 50. I mean, I've done those and freaking can't walk once, freaking hell.
Well, that was my plan, because I did it, but it was like, it's just going to be very easy. If people wanted to pass me, they passed me.
Yeah.
And I just let them go. I just took it easy, had a good day out. And then basically last week, which was the week after, I was able to recover like within a day or two. And I still had an 80K training week after Coastal High. So,
nice.
So
you had the big week,
that's just
6 weeks out.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
The other one, I mean, you kind of touched on that. We can gloss over that one. The mandatory gear. I mean, you sort of said, I mean, we don't have a lot anyway, so there's not too much. But I mean, you can put those bottles in, like you said. You can simulate that checkpoint 3. Fill your bottles up. Make sure you got enough water, and don't sort of skimp on 600 grams by leaving a bottle behind. You know what I mean? Like, what about this one? This is a really cool one, I think. And for myself, one of the most important things you can do is training runs at any part of the day that you could still be running on the day. This means to do your runs in the morning, the middle of the day, late afternoon, and also at night where it's safe to do so. I like how you put the disclaimer in there, mate. That was really good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's especially for the women, because you know, going out on the trail at night time sometimes is not advised, because you don't know who's out there. So
it's probably a good thing too, I suppose, to go out with another person at night anyway, just for the, I guess, the safety of that. I suppose, just in case anyway. Yeah, I know one of the things that Gavin Jackson always says is if you've had a really long day at work, that might be the time to go and practice your hiking or slowing. You know, like when you're really tired. I mean, I wouldn't go and hammer it, because I think that's probably potentially an injury. But it's a really good time to have a go when you're a bit sleepy and stuff. Because if you, like you said, you might be out there for 20 hours or so. So, you know, that could be the case. So it's a great point.
Yeah. And I think I always say, you know, like at the end of the day or something, when you don't feel like it, that's when you've actually got to put your shoes on and go.
Yeah.
Because also you'll actually find you'll have a really good run.
Yeah.
And you'll thank yourself for it. But as we said the other day, and I think in relation to that post, when like the sun's setting and you get to checkpoint 4, which is like, what is it now, 64 kilometers, 64 kilometers in.
It's about 42 in the 50, so you're at marathon.
Yeah. So I always think that, you know, like a lot of people have come unstuck by checkpoint 4 and that 64 kilometer mark.
Yeah.
And I think I've said it last year on the discussion forum also. I don't think it is a place to quit or not continue on. I think it's a place to sit down It's the checkpoint's amazing now with Brisbane Trail Runners. They do an amazing job.
Yeah, they do a great job. All the guys are great there. They'll keep you in the game unless you're injured or really unwell.
Yeah.
Or they'll sit you down and see if you come good.
Yeah, and just sit there, have a couple Zupa Dupas, have a cup of Coke, have some watermelon or an orange or something. Even if you have to sit there for 15 minutes, just get some calories in. And as we said, by that time, it's late in the afternoon, going on to the night, probably for most people.
Yeah.
The day actually cools off quite a lot by that stage.
Yeah.
Because the sun's setting way over the other side, so the sun's not even up. And, from checkpoint 4, it's 4 kilometres downhill. So you've got plenty of time to just have a nice little toddle and just ease back into the race. And, we've got the Nutters checkpoint there at checkpoint 5, which is only about 10 kilometres away.
It is.
And by that stage, it's nice and cool. You've re-energized. And we went for a run on Saturday night out there. We started at 4:45 on Saturday night and did the dam loop. And, by the time we got to Coolabin Dam, the sun had just gone down. It was glowing. And we were just this is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And to actually miss out on that by pulling the pin at, checkpoint 4, I think would be a real shame.
Yeah.
Because, and don't forget, everyone else is in the same situation.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing is too, we're all there for 24 hours. I mean, if you can hang in there and you got to, I think you travel 4.16k an hour to finish that. So, if you can hang in there, and the sweepers that come every year, they're nearly in the 1,000, or not 1,000. They've been to every race. They're amazing. They'll hang in there, and they're so encouraging to the guys that are, might struggle at the back. And we always usually get one that sees sunlight the next day. So it's pretty spectacular. So,
and I think the other thing too is you're really at the back end of the race by then. By the time you get to checkpoint 4, you've only got 36 kilometres to go until you've finished 100k.
Yeah.
And I see it as you just count down then. I always go, once you hit 50k, it's all downhill because the numbers are getting smaller to finish.
Oh, yeah, you break the back of it, mate, for sure.
Yeah. And also, I always have this thing, checkpoint to checkpoint. Don't think about the finish. Don't think about checkpoint 4 again. Yeah. Just get yourself to checkpoint 5 and then get yourself to the water stop, which is just after sort of the dam loop there. Use that as a little mini water, checkpoint.
And you know what? If you've got a bit of crew there and they can be aware of this and be switched on. I remember I was in a 100-mile race. I was about at 80k, right? And I was starting to sook, and it was really hot, and I was sooking. And I said to Megan, I don't know how I'm going to bloody do Western States. I'm struggling with this. And she just looked straight at me and she said, why don't you finish this one first, you idiot? And I'm like, now that's a good idea. Still took me another 4 years to get in it. But it's really, they're like the 1%ers, aren't they? If you can just really do that. I mean, you got your last point here, which ties into all the stuff really we've been talking about. You've sort of said, train in all parts of the day. I would almost recommend now, even if you're going for a walk, there's some hot days, been some hot days lately. Even if you do 1 or 2 hours in the middle of the day, that could be your experience at the Blackwall. Yeah. Get some heat conditioning. I mean, I know when I did Western States, I spent the last 3 weeks, twice a week in a sauna for an hour.
Yeah.
Just sort of getting myself ready for hot. I was doing bloody push-ups and stupid stuff, but just trying to get my body ready for what I was going to kind of potentially have. And that's probably one of the things that, the long forecast doesn't look like it's going to be a hot one, but I mean, it's still a month away. So
yeah, exactly. But I think now, and I listen to quite a few podcasts in relation to, that coach some good American ultra runners, and whatnot. And, it's the same. It's like that heat training or getting used to the conditions of the day. And I think the time frame actually is like, if you can do it now, you've still got time to get acclimatized to a bit of warmth.
Yeah,
or,
about 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And
The
or
last 3 weeks.
running late in the afternoon. Get used to it now because you've still got time. And as you said, even in that last in your 2 weeks of taper before the event, just go for a walk in the middle of the day in the sun.
Yeah. Get ready for it.
Because you don't want to be running. You don't want to be like still trying to cram in training because then's not the time. Like nothing's going to change.
Even the changeover, mate, from daylight to dark. I don't know about you. I'm not sure how old you are, but I know where I'm getting to. Freaking hell, that bit from bloody dusk, like before your headlamp actually kicks in. I'm like, bloody
yeah.
There's a real adjustment for me now. It's like, bloody hell.
We were only talking about that the other night because it was funny because I actually forgot my headlamp when we did that run on Saturday night. And
I don't normally edit. this. Do you think I should edit that out after what we've talked about? Train with all your gear.
Just remember that it's mandatory to carry a headlamp.
It is mandatory too.
And I was like, oh, look, guys, I'm going to have to borrow your headlights and just like run beside you. But I was saying the same, like you said, that transition from sort of light to dark and, adjusting how heavy your beam is. If you have it on low as it's getting dark, it's actually dangerous because you can't see where you're running. You actually have to have it on full beam until it actually starts to get dark. Totally, and then you can back it back to low and run quite easily. But that's the other thing as well, like that back end of the course is actually really, the whole back end is runnable course. So with your headlight, like there's no issues with really stacking it.
It's a bit more flat.
And like I said before, like about not dropping at checkpoint 4, because that back end of the course is so totally runnable. And around the dam now is all being graded and repacked with bloody new gravel and stuff, so it's actually nice now to, well, it was fine beforehand, but it's good now to run on.
Well, mate, I don't know how long we've been talking. I think we've been going a while. A fair bit. Anyway, I mean, look, we covered some really good ground, and I was really keen to have a chat a while ago, but then when I seen this post, I'm like, now I know where we're going. It was a really good, a really much appreciated post, mate. I hope a lot of people get a lot out of us having a chat today too. I want to wish you all the best there in next month, and see you ring the bell again and join the 500 club.
It's sort of funny. Like I looked at the 4 times I've done it, and I was thinking about it earlier going, what's the thing when you've done a race a number of times and it's sort of like hit and miss. Like you've had success or you've had failure. Like I think I was looking at some results, and I saw one year the guy that first ran sub 10 hours, he actually DNF'd the first year or something, I think. And then the Yun Far or whatever his name is. And then he came and actually won it and went under 10 hours. But for myself, 4 years I've done it now. This year I've been trying to break the hoodoo, and in 4 years I've gone between 13 hours 35 and 14 hours and 1. So I haven't had mixed results. Like it's always been consistent every year. But this year my strategy will change a little bit to try and break that 13:35 time.
So you're going to try and go under 13:30 and see where that goes.
But,
I mean, I was saying, mate, that's moving pretty well there.
It
is.
I I was looking at splits before, and I was like, one of the things I was sort of, and I think, like we touched on before, is this year I'll actually be going slower for the first 42K this year.
Yeah.
Because I think the key is like last year I came into checkpoint 3. I stacked it on that road on the approach to checkpoint 3 and busted my knee up and my hand up.
Yeah.
And then I left there, and then I twisted my knee on the way to the bluff climb, which sort of rattled me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I've spent too much time at checkpoints last year, and I took your advice from UTA for your under 14 hours and went, you got to get in and out of those checkpoints.
Oh yeah, I think we spent about, I don't even know, myself and Gav Jackson was crewing me no more than 10 minutes. But I mean, we had a plan of how that was going to look. And, if you've got a person on your crew, if you're kind of doing that for a time, I mean, if it's more about just finishing, I mean, that's irrelevant. But I had a goal time, seen if I could go under 14 hours again and get that silver buckle. And I mean, if we hadn't done that, I would have missed it. So it was pretty well like clockwork to get there, and even just being able to walk out with food or whatever, and a Red Bull. And that for me, I have a Red Bull later on in the event. Crush it up and then give it back to him when I get to the next checkpoint, because I could have stood there and done that. And then I'm walking while I do that, so I might do a kilometre in say 10 to 15 minutes, but still another kilometre that I would have been doing sitting there, and getting more tired, more chance of wanting to pull out or whatever. So but anyway,
but everything's going to plan for myself, and I just got to take my own advice this year. And I'm looking forward to joining the 500 club. And I love the race, and it holds a bit of a special place in my heart. So I think you've built a great, absolutely fantastic event. And last year, like, just shown that, because I hadn't done it for like 2 years, and then I was just like blown away by how much it had grown in that time. And it was just it's like a big spectacle now. Like, it's amazing. And I think that proves by you selling out your tickets so fast, and still up until this day, people are still trying to get tickets. So it just goes to show how awesome of an event that it is. And you guys should be really proud of yourself from 2014.
Thanks, mate. We really appreciate it. It's really kind to say. I mean, it's a highlight for us. I mean, we've been up in Mapleton now for the last month, getting ready for it. So we've got a few fun kind of things that we think will be fun for the Friday night and stuff. So we're looking forward to it. So, mate, can I just say thanks so much again for spending a bit of time with me chatting. I know you're busy with work and training and stuff. So
good, mate.
And all the best in October, mate.
Yep. Thanks, Brett.
All right, mate. Take care.
See you too, mate.
See you, mate.